Hello friends, and it's day 42. So I want to talk about something that I've wanted to address and I just haven't had the right words. So I'm going to do my best, and I apologise in advance if this is not as articulate and clear as I really want it to be. So many times I have heard in different contexts, but this idea of, as black people, if we do not like the way that we are being treated in one organisation, then we should leave and go to another. So first off, I want to say that I have been there and done that. Got the t-shirt. I've also been the one that said to people like, listen, girl, pack your bags. It is time for you to go. Don't be letting them talk to you like that. Don't be letting them treat you like that. I've been that one, right? But there is another side of the conversation that I want to give voice to, and I guess context, where in some instances that now is not the advice that I would want to give. Now, at the end of the day, clearly, whatever any decision anybody makes is up to them. I will always ever give my views. I'm never going to tell anybody what to do. I think we all live in that world. So I just want to make that point clear. But you know, one of the things that struck me, and it's based on a couple of the comments that I've seen over the past few weeks. It's just not one in particular, a couple of comments that I've seen where I've had white people who are so incensed at some of the examples and the stories and the experiences that black people are talking about, that they've said, like, oh my God, like, you need to get out of there. Like, why do you stay? Why did they stay? Why did she stay? Why did he put up with that? And then I've also got other black people who are saying, why did they stay? Why do we stay? Why don't we just go and take them to court? You know, sue them in an employment tribunal, hit them where it hurts. And my thing is, if you did ask me that question 6 months ago, I would have still been saying that. Do you know what I mean? Like, listen, leave. Oh my God. Don't even turn around and look back. But what I want to say is, one, it's a very personal decision. We know this. Two, we've all got mouths to feed. We've got bills. We've got responsibilities. So whilst it's easy for some people to jump and to take the risk, that's not always the case for everybody else. And three, when you understand that what we are talking about as it affects black people is structural, right? As I said, this is not just about what we are called behind closed doors. It's not just about the microaggressions. It's not just about being passed over for promotion. It's not just about being asked to train somebody when they've told you you're not good enough, but you're good enough to train that person. It's not about just that. It's about the structural bits, right? It's if you take every single people-based decision, as I call it, right from how you write a job advert or how you write a job description, what candidate pools you go and look for, which search companies that you go and engage with. Then you look at the onboarding process. Then you look at how you are able to get different opportunities to do things to show how good you are or not. Then when you look into how promotional decisions are made, how businesses will decide who is top talent versus who isn't. When you look at who gets sponsored, officially or unofficially, by somebody on the board of directors. When you look at what happens when you don't go to the pub for drinks or you're not seen in the social get-togethers for whatever reason, and then realising the impact that has on your ability to progress within a business. Then when you realise what it is to step into a business where you are the only black face and everybody else is of one shade, and the view of the world is of one shade. So when you understand that this is a structural thing, these are the things that we need to really tackle. These are the things that a lot of companies are still trying to distract themselves with unconscious bias training, or, thinking that they're just going to give their teams a list of books to read and documentaries to watch and podcasts to listen to. That is going to magically fix things. It's the structural stuff that we need to change. So when you understand that that's the problem, and people say, well, why don't you just leave? My question is, where are we going to go? Where are we going to go? What, to another company that still is not addressing the structural racist issues within their business? Another company who's not dealing with the inequalities within their business? Another company who's still debating with their board of directors how far they want to take showing commitment to doing something about this? What, another company where they don't buy into this idea of white privilege? They still don't buy into this idea of white supremacy because they did not ask to be born white. And why should they be forced to change things that wasn't of their making? What, another business that's still thinking to themselves, well, we can still carry on making money because, you know what, even if we don't address this, our customers are predominantly white, our teams are predominantly white. Okay, it's unfortunate that we've only got a few black people and they're not having a good time, but you know what, the majority rules the minority. So when you break it down like that, where are we going? So when you say to a black person, pack your bags and disappear, do you know what I mean? Put all your stuff in the box, like metaphorically speaking, and go to another place. All we're doing is moving one problem, going somewhere where it's bright and shiny for 5 minutes, only to be faced with the same challenges. It just might look different. Because I keep saying this, you can pay people all the money that you want and you can give them the title, but if the culture does not work, if they are not treated fairly, if they do not feel like they've got equal opportunities to succeed or to fail as somebody else who does not look like them, then all the money in the world is not going to make it a great experience. The other thing that I want to say is maybe that's part of the problem. You know, the fact that we vote with our feet, so we leave one business because the practices are shit. Because when we do that, we enable those same bad actors, as they're called in the legal term, to carry on doing what they've always done, which is exhibit appalling behaviours and get away with it. And let me be clear, when a black person leaves a business, the kind of conversations that you hear and the comments that are being made go along the lines of, well, they never culturally fitted in here anyway. Do you know what I mean? He was always a bit too ambitious. You know, didn't know when to keep his mouth shut. You know, and God forbid that you challenged him. Jesus, did you see how aggressive he got sometimes in meetings? I mean, listen, I know there are probably some things I could have done differently, but you know what? I think it's best for him. It's good for him, actually. Let him go and find somewhere else where they'll accept that. I know we're not perfect here. Or they talk about the black woman and say, well, do you know what, the team weren't really comfortable reporting into her anyway because, you know, they found her a bit too intimidating. You know, when she wasn't in a good mood, like she scared half of the team. I know. Do you know how many times I used to say to her in the morning, like, do you not want to smile? All of this stuff, right? And the code word for that is culture fit. They didn't fit in here, not really. Now, I would forgive them that if the next person that they hired was a black person, but 9 times out of 10, they ain't hiring another black person. They're hiring somebody who looks like them, of their shade, who they perceive as less hassle than having the black person. Now, this plays out in every single business, every single organisation, whether they're for-profit, not-for-profit, charity, third sector, community partnership, in some way, shape or form, and it be to different degrees, the racial biases will play out. So that's what happens when we don't deal with the structural stuff. But also the behaviours which are part and parcel of it. So you can put in all the policies and procedures as you want, but if the behaviours of your line managers, of your employees, of your board of directors, of your CEO, of the chairman, is not in keeping with the very same values that you publicly espouse. Case point, Nike in my video yesterday. But rather than challenge that and push through the discomfort of dealing with that, you basically say to people, like it or lump it, they should be grateful they get a job. Now this is, and I'm sharing this because this is an environment, this is what life is like when you are a black person. Navigating a white space over and over and over again with the same companies that feel like they're doing lots of things around diversity and inclusion, but they're doing it here, and we know what needs to change is down here. So I go back to the answer to that question, well, why doesn't he, she, they leave? And I will say, but where is he, she, they going? Where are we going if this behaviour is not changed? If we are not dealing with structural racism, if we are not dealing with racial inequalities, if we are not putting in equitable practices to level the playing field? I know it's a really, like, because instinctively we're just taught, right, if something is not working, then you leave and you go and find somewhere else that is. But understanding this context, it's not that easy. You know, and I'm not for a split second, because I don't want anyone to get confused with what I'm saying. I'm not saying if you're in an environment where it's affecting your mental health, your physical health, that you should stay just because. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm trying to say is all of us needs to be challenged to go, why are we so willing to accept good talent? Why are we so willing to accept individuals leaving a business rather than tackle the reason why those individuals had to leave the business in the first place? So no, I don't find it funny to say, do you know what, as black people, we should take these companies to court and we should, what's the word, like, take them for every penny that they've got. No, that's not funny. No, I don't buy into that. No, it's bloody hard work to take an employer to court. Because I've been the one on the other side fighting on behalf of the employer. And guess what? Those employees, they haven't got money to make things right. But I tell you what, they've got money to defend an ET claim though. Hello. They've got money to spend on solicitors. They've got money to spend on lawyers. They'd rather deal with that and prove a point than they would invest in creating a culture that means that shouldn't have happened in the first place. That's the world that we're living in, and that's the world that we've got to challenge. So I guess I want people to be balanced with this. It's not a laughing matter. It's not a joke. It's not a point to prove for, like, black people. Yeah, you took them for court and got... You know, there are people doing this and having to resort to employment tribunals because there are organisations that are stopping them from just living their life. They don't find it funny. And whilst I appreciate that, you know, for some people who go, you know, and as I said, it's not coming from a bad place. Like, you know, when people say, like, why don't they just leave? It's not coming from an unsupportive place, but it's just understanding that if we don't deal with this, if we don't deal with the structural issues, if we don't tackle the behavioural challenges, then telling people to go somewhere else has no value. So that's just what I wanted to say today. You know, we can't keep protecting individuals. We can't keep, like, preserving cultures to protect the majority at the expense of the minority. Because I don't know about anybody else, but that is not the society that I want to live in. And it doesn't matter that I'm here on the other side of it and I'm not in a business. It doesn't matter. Because that's the experience that I know my close friends will go through, my family will go through. And if we don't do enough about it, our children will go through, our grandchildren will go through. So that's what I wanted to say. I hope it makes some sense in, like, a roundabout way. As always, thank you for listening. And I will be back tomorrow.